A brief warning before we begin. This episode contains explicit descriptions of violence. It's raining heavily as we walk through a small village on the outskirts of Freetown. The village consists of a handful of simple concrete houses. Faded patches of colors on the walls hint that they were once brightly painted. The corrugated metal roofs have rusted over the years. Between the houses runs a path of mud and sand. We constantly warn each other where to put our feet, desperately trying not to slip. Behind me, I hear Samuel laughing at how clumsy I look. The residents take shelter under the overhangs of their roofs, together with their chickens and pets. And curious children watch us pass by.
So we're here already? No, it's okay.
Over the past couple of days, Samuel, Koroma and I are visiting several so-called hidden children who were recently identified by their field workers. And today we're visiting Fatima, an 11-year-old girl. She lives with her aunt in a small house on the edge of this village, next to a large muddy stretch of mangrove forest.
She's the auntie.
When she sees us, Fatima runs down the hill. She's a little shy, but immediately fascinated by my microphone. I put my headphones on her head so she can try the microphone herself.
Hello?
Can you hear your voice?
Hello?
Yeah?
Hello?
By now, one thing has become clear to me. Children with disabilities are all very different, and so are their circumstances. But over the past few days, I've also started to recognize 3 reoccurring patterns. 3 elements that return in almost every story here. And the first is the stigma. Stories about demons, spirits, and curses. The idea that a child with a disability is possessed. And that such a child would be dangerous. I see this reflected clearly in the story of Fatima and her aunt.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about Fatima, what she's like and who she is?
Fatima, na my own sister picking.
So Fatima is the daughter of my sister. I was with Fatima's mother when she became pregnant, and but because of Fatima was very small, the house that we were living, we were given.
After Fatima was born, she, her aunt, and her mother were evicted from their home. Not because they couldn't pay the rent, but because the landlord believed Fatima was a devil. Fatima's head is smaller than average, and that fact alone was reason enough to throw them out.
The dad absconded because he thought that Fatima is a demon. So he went away and he left us alone, and we have no other means of survival. So we use Fatima as a means of survival.
After Fatima's father also left, they lost their last source of income. So now they have to bring Fatima to beg at the local mosque. Fatima despises the begging, her aunt tells us, but it seems to be the only way to gather even a little bit of money. And that brings me to the second element I keep encountering.
So what does the family need? What is their hope for what kind of help they need?
The ask for help is often not that big. Children want to go to school, they want to participate, they want to be seen as any other child. We're talking about the basic conditions for a dignified life.
Fatima was going to a community school, but at the school she was not valued there, and they usually stigmatize her. So sometimes she will run to the house to say that she does not want to go to school anymore because of the way she is being treated there. But for them as a family, what they need for Fatima now is for Fatima to be integrated into a school and have a normal education as any other kid.
And finally, there is the third element. There is almost never a proper diagnosis. Children are not given a name for what has happened to them. No medical explanation, no treatment plan. For families, the disability often remains a mystery. And when there are no words or diagnoses, stories, fears, and assumptions rush in to fill the gap.
Is there a diagnosis for Fatima?
The side where we go, like when body the one more they go, the doctor they tell you.
They've never taken her for a diagnosis. They only take her to the hospital when she has like fever and other stuff.
Later in the day, we visit a boy called Joshua.
Thanks for driving.
When we arrive, his little brother is already waiting for us outside.
Hey, Will you all high five? Max, good to meet you.
Joshua is a sweet, enthusiastic boy who is endlessly driving around in a bright red plastic toy car.
Hi, Joshua.
But he never goes further than the veranda of his house, because Joshua is almost always kept
He
indoors.
likes the car, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And what does Joshua like to do during the day?
What's in Joshua like for me?
For sit down beds and these donuts.
For hours, he sits in the doorway on his red plastic car, watching the other children play games of football. Only his brother and sister play with him, the other children don't. Because, as you may have guessed it already, their parents have told them that Joshua is possessed.
Most people do not accept him in the community. Just few people, especially our neighbor, that likes Joshua.
And why don't they accept him? What do they think about Joshua?
Because then can say me don't born there, boo.
She said that the people think that she gave birth to a demonic child, a demon child. That's why they do not accept her, Joshua.
Later, I talk through the situation of Fatima and Joshua with Samuel in the car.
And I can clearly see that there are very concrete improvements that can be made to make like a world of difference.
Of course.
Right?
For Fatima, the plan is to support her mother and aunt in starting a small business so they no longer have to beg, and to arrange transport by school bus so that Fatima can attend a safe school. I feel far more optimistic than when we left Annabelle, the girl we visited in the previous episode. Samuel understands my newfound optimism.
When you go to Annabelle's place, you have this feeling of impending doom.
Yeah.
But then when you come to Joshua, you're optimistic about that. With just a few tweaks, he's going to have a better life.
With Joshua and Fatima, solutions seem to be within reach, or at least as long as there are enough resources.
You know, and if you listen to Joshua's story, there's nothing like you need to return him back to the devil.
Yeah, but that's already a big progress
Yeah,
from the what is going on with Annabelle.
yeah.
My name is Max Bogaert, and you're listening to The Child in the Pond. Episode 2. What Remains Invisible. We've started a long drive through the interior of Sierra Leone, heading towards the Cambia district, and that is where a boy named Alhaji lives. Alhaji only recently appeared on the team's radar. Samuel considers it a worrying case, but hasn't told me much about it. And before we can get there, we first need to pick up Femi, the team's empowerment advisor.
She actually doesn't know that she's going to know the history of the case or anything yet.
Samuel has already visited Alhaji once, and Femi hasn't.
Because I don't want to give her what my thought.
Samuel hopes that Femi can shed new light on Alhaji's situation, a kind of second opinion.
Well, it's nice for me to hear what she sees, because I'm also new there, you know?
Yeah.
More than ever, I feel like a fly on the wall, as I am allowed to tag along for the real work. On our way to pick up Femi, long trains loaded with stones pass by the road. And someone told me recently, if you want to understand why Sierra Leone is so poor, you just need to look at the railway system.
Yeah, so the railway tracks were specifically built by African minerals to transport the minerals from the mines to the port.
Sierra Leone's railway lines don't connect cities to one another, they connect the mines to the sea.
Yeah, but they don't transfer people
No,
at all.
no.
So you have railways, but no passenger cars.
Yes.
They are cargo twins.
Yeah, I know, but like in the Dutch tracks we have both on the same track, but
No.
Ever since colonial times, this country has been designed to extract raw materials from the interior and to export these materials. The result? Hardly any infrastructure was built for the people who live here. No solid healthcare system, barely any education, few roads. Everything revolved around what could be taken out of the country, not what was invested into it. And a system like that doesn't change overnight, not even after gaining independence. There is still little work for the local population, all the while the wealth extracted from the ground largely flows to foreign companies. And where raw materials are found, conflict seems to follow. The diamond trade eventually became one of the drivers of the civil war that devastated Sierra Leone in the 1990s. An extraordinarily brutal conflict that lasted more than a decade, and I've noticed how almost no one here talks about it. I've started to suspect that this war is essential to understanding this country. So, after 3 days, during this drive, I finally bring it up.
In a way, I can imagine it's also quite a traumatized country.
It is. So I can understand why people actually avoid such conversations. Every family has something that they lost. And that's the worst part of it. So discussing the war is a lot closer to home than it's supposed to be.
The war was exceptionally brutal, not only because of how fighters fought one another, but because civilians became a common target. There were rapes, abductions, mutilations, including, sometimes especially, children.
Imagine a child in the mother's in the crib, taken out of the crib, with hands chopped off, and the only message they can tell you is, I'm sending a message to the government. All the ministers left, so who are you fighting? Who are you fighting? Yeah, it was terrible.
Were you in the country during the war?
Yeah. My house was a refugee camp. Around 500 people living in my compound.
During the war, Samuel's family sheltered more than 500 refugees. People were staying everywhere throughout their compound.
We didn't have much beds to accommodate everyone, so people were sleeping on the floors, people were sleeping in the corridors and the sitting rooms.
And somewhere in between all that, the young Samuel was walking around.
I was a kid, actually. By the time we had the refugee camp at home, I was barely 9.
Okay, but that's an age you can remember really well.
That's the problem. I think that's the major problem. I had an uncle whose arms were chopped off. He was a driver.
During the war, Samuel's uncle was mutilated because of his work as a driver for the government.
And he was driving for the ruling party by then. But then he was a poor driver, nothing, no influence, nothing. And his arms were cut off.
And the 9-year-old Samuel had to take care of him. It's a memory that still haunts him today.
And he needed to use the restroom, and all the other people that were around were women, and I was made to take him there, and I had to actually take off his pants and take out his... And he was crying, and I was also crying, because it was scary. The arms were also bloody, because...
it was just done.
It was just done. It was wrapped in bandage, and you can see the blood in the bandage and everything. And that was me standing there, so...
As I mentioned before, Samuel comes from an influential family, and a future as a politician or businessman would have been an obvious path. But as he speaks, I begin to suspect that it was precisely the war that pushed him in a different direction.
Does it in a way inform the work you do now?
Yeah.
Your humanitarian side in life?
Yeah, I think that's really informed it. I got this idea that we need to do something about the problems. We need to really make sure we never go back there. And it's one of the reasons why I actually advocate for people with disabilities and some of these things, because... Sorry. Yeah.
He falls silent for a moment, and then Samuel continues, clearly frustrated.
All of it, all of the things that actually caused the war in the first place are still here. And nobody's doing anything about it. You know. Sorry, this is not what we're supposed to be talking about. That's okay.
No, it's really good to talk about it, and I find it. Thank you for talking about it. That's what I wanted to say.
Come out.
We pull into Femi's driveway. Samuel calls her to let her know we're outside.
Yeah, so
no story exists in isolation, you know, like.
No, and this is the thing I tell people now. Now we see people having disabilities because of medical causes, and while it is painful to see that, it was more difficult to go into the amputee camps and see a child in the cradle without arms or without legs.
And while I'm still taking all of that in, that it's already heartbreaking that children here are born with disabilities, but there was also a time when children's arms were deliberately chopped off, the door opens and Femi gets into the car.
Hey, good morning.
I'm Femi.
My name is Max.
Oh, good to meet you.
And as it so often goes with Samuel and his team, the mood almost naturally lifts again. There is a kind of stubborn optimism in this group that surprises me every single time.
So, Femi, in the car we are wired. So whatever we say goes into the mic.
This microphone.
So there's a mic here also. So feel free to say whatever you want to say.
No, I'm making an audio documentary for like a podcast about.
And as I explain to Femi what I'm doing here, the landscape of Sierra Leone slides past the window. The palm trees, the forests, street vendors lining the road. It's starting to feel familiar. And once again, a train thunders past. After a couple of hours of driving, we turn into a sandy road and we enter the village where Alhaji lives.
Or is it just part of
The road ends at a small stone mosque.
Is this the mosque?
Across from it stands a simple house with a veranda. On the veranda, a boy is sitting cross-legged on the ground. I recognize him from the photos.
Oh, I see Alhaji, on the floor. Oh, he's really happy. Can we get out or should we wait?
No, you can.
Children come running out of their houses from all directions.
None of them want to play with Alhaji.
We walk onto the veranda and are greeted by Alhaji's grandmother.
Hi, grandmother.
She's an elderly woman with a dignified presence. Draped in elegant fabrics and a carefully wrapped headscarf, she immediately commands respect. Alhaji sits on the ground beside her. You can clearly see how happy he is that people are here. His hands go up and his whole face lights up. I ask Koroma how old Alhaji actually is.
How old is Alhaji, do you know?
He was 3 when they brought him, and he has been with the grandma for 7 years, so he's 10.
He's 10.
But he looks 3.
Yeah, he looks 3.
But honestly, he looks no older than 3 years old. Flies land on him, on his mouth, on his teeth. He's small and thin. His diaper is a plastic bag. By now, half the village has gathered around the veranda to see what's happening. They hardly ever get visitors from the big city. So we look for a place where we can speak quietly with the grandmother.
Yeah, let's sit outside a bit. This is a bit crowded.
Behind the house, we set up a few plastic chairs, and Femi, the empowerment officer we picked up earlier, sits down next to me. She listens in to get a clear picture of Alhaji's situation and to assess what might be possible for him. And Koroma translates because Alhaji's grandmother doesn't speak any English.
Yeah, so
She's going to explain about herself and how she's related to Alhaji.
Alayang okas inekumko. Inekum okas.
She said that she's the mother of Alhaji's dad, and the mother of Alhaji's has absconded, and
she tells us that her son, Alhaji's father, has died, and that his mother ran away.
She said that
all the caregiving responsibilities have fallen onto her shoulders.
The only one who is doing everything.
And now she's getting older, and she fears that she won't be able to keep going much longer.
Now she's getting old and getting tired.
And that there will be no one left to care for Alhaji when she dies.
So now she's worried because if she dies, then Alhaji has no other option but to die too.
If she dies, she says, Alhaji will die too. I understand now why Samuel was so worried about this case. Femi asks whether there are people in the community who help her from time to time.
What I wanted to know was, do the neighbors help with caregiving?
And by now I know that this is a crucial question for the method of community-based rehabilitation, CBR.
If I need something within the village, they will come and assist, like food items and other stuff. They will assist because for me, I don't work right now.
People in the community sometimes give her food and supplies, and that is noteworthy, even though I don't fully realize why yet. Most families with a child with a disability are usually excluded, but this grandmother is being helped. Just like the other children I've met, Alhaji has never received an official diagnosis. The only diagnosis the community knows is that Alhaji is possessed.
And what do other people in the community think he has going on?
Some of them think that Alhaji is a demon.
Femi asks whether it bothers the grandmother that people believe this.
Has she ever experienced people laughing at her or talking down
or Ashelis Mui? For her, the people don't have the guts to laugh at her.
Laugh at me, the grandmother says. They wouldn't dare. They'd get into trouble. And once again, I feel like I'm missing something. Why is she respected while the other families are excluded?
They will laugh, but if she is aware of that, then you'll have a case with her. Because
I look back at Alhaji and notice that he wears a gold-colored chain around his ankle, and for a brief moment, a dark thought flashes through my mind, that it might be strong enough to tie him down. I ask Koroma if the grandmother can explain what the chain is for.
Okay, the history behind the chain, a woman had a dream that Alhaji was walking in her dream. So if that happens, for it not to happen again in a dream, they want Alhaji not to walk in a dream, but to walk in the physical. That's why the chain was put on his feet. Yeah.
The chain isn't meant to restrain him, it's meant to heal him. And so I ask whether she has ever taken him to traditional healers.
Alhaji traditional doctor.
For a moment, she doesn't seem to understand the question. It feels as if no answer is coming. And then she begins to speak.
Yes, we have taken him there for several times, but it seems he's not working. And because of that, now we take Alhaji to the hospital when he's sick.
I get a sense that she has told us all she wants to tell, so I decide to take a stroll through the rest of the village. Down the street, Koroma and I come across a group of men sitting in a circle of white plastic chairs. As we approach, one of them introduces himself as the village imam, a respected position with considerable influence over the community.
Is it okay if I ask him some questions?
It is okay unless he's not able to answer what you ask him, but whatever you ask him that he's able to answer, he will answer.
Okay. What is his name? So
now I am the imam.
At first we make light conversation about the weather, our visit, the village. But then I decide to ask the question that has been on my mind all along. What will happen to Alhaji when his grandmother dies? And as soon as Koroma translates my question, the imam begins to laugh, albeit uneasily.
Alhaji have no one else to look after him if the grandma is gone.
Will the community look after him?
We cannot look after Alhaji. He will have to die.
The imam says it too. If the grandmother dies, Alhaji will have to die. And he quickly starts to defend himself. This is the harsh reality, he says. He tells me he doesn't want to lie.
He's saying we have to say the truth, the honest fact. If we say we want to take care of Alhaji, then it means we are lying.
As painful as it is to hear, I'm grateful for his honesty.
Can we walk back around?
Yeah.
So we see the whole visit?
Can go this way. So this is not that village, eh?
Not long after, we get back into Samuel's car, and I ask Femi for her analysis.
What was your assessment, Femi?
Okay, so first of all, you will definitely know that
She too recognizes the three elements I mentioned earlier. There is no diagnosis, The grandmother has a simple wish just to keep him alive, and the stigma in the village is strong. Alhaji is often seen as a demon.
There hasn't been a professional diagnosis.
Femi adds that the family's income is unstable.
Her source of income are from other people, so you would know that it is not constant.
No, we're not. We actually know her source of income.
But suddenly Samuel corrects her. Actually, he says, we do know the grandmother has an income.
We know practically that wives, she gets money from being a traditional healer, but that's it.
She is also a traditional healer herself.
You can hear the confusion in my voice as I respond. The grandmother herself is a traditional healer. That is how she earns her income.
How did you guys discover that?
Well, by talking with the community and the young men around.
During an earlier visit, Samuel discovered this by talking at length with the grandmother and the people in the community.
And, some of the community guys that we met with, they said, oh yes, she's really helping them a lot with regards to giving them medication, something like that. Goes into the bush and brings out leaves that help them to regain their health. So
neighbors had told him that she tries all kinds of methods to help Alhaji walk.
Told us that day that she has been really trying for Alhaji to walk, but then she has been taking our medicines.
And at the same moment, Femi and I realize it. The grandmother doesn't take Alhaji to traditional healers. She is the healer.
So she's the one that was giving him the concussions and he was still well.
Yeah, that's what they told us. And then when we came there was a chain. I don't know if
the chain around Alhaji's ankle makes more sense.
There was a chain on his legs, and when we asked her, she told us that the chain was put there for healing, eh?
Yeah, but she didn't tell me that she was a healer.
Yeah, because it's frowned up. It's frowned up.
And although being a traditional healer is a respected position in the village, which explains why so many people help her, there's also a lot of criticism from the outside. It clashes with our Western understanding of science, and some of the methods are controversial or even unsafe.
Right, so she knows it's gonna not help the case of Alhaji.
Exactly.
She says that honestly.
Exactly.
And yet, the longer I think about it, the more it makes sense. Alhaji's grandmother knows perfectly well that it wouldn't help Alhaji to tell a white European about her rituals and healing practices, so she keeps that to herself. But it also makes me wonder, what am I not seeing? What am I projecting onto this situation? I start to feel a little bit uncomfortable, and a term flashes through my mind, one I've already thought about several times. White saviorism. White saviorism is the idea that white Europeans or Americans travel to poorer countries to help, but that help is often more about their own need for meaning than about the people that actually need it. Am I unconsciously doing the same? I stare out the window for a moment, unsure whether I should bring it up, and then I try.
In a way, it sometimes just feels wrong that you're just there from a European perspective, just kind of looking at the hardship, and
I don't quite manage to put it into words. Luckily, Samuel seems to sense exactly where my discomfort lies. He nods and calmly begins to explain how he sees it.
For instance, like what we're doing now, we're going out, you're helping us to go into the field, capture the message of these children, and then share that story. Now, I can capture the message, I can share the message. Will I reach the same audience that you reach? Now, it's not white saviorism, it's so you are making me reach places, or making my organization and my clients reach places that I could not have reached for them.
For Samuel, this is a partnership, one between equals.
Because you're not telling your story, you're telling our story. And because it's our story, you have the right to it. It's completely different than you coming in and giving your perspective on what's happening in my country.
And it's good to be reminded of that. My role is to pass these stories on as honestly as possible to an audience that he would otherwise never reach. And what Samuel touches onto next goes far beyond me or this podcast. He is openly critical of how development aid is generally viewed in the global north. According to him, the entire system needs to be decolonized.
What is that exactly? So, like in short, how is aid colonized?
So you have organizations in the West or in the global north that are receiving millions, hundreds of millions of dollars as funding and are spending on overhead costs, hundreds of millions on technical staff that they send into the global south to come and do work that global southerners can actually do.
Every year, millions are spent sending aid workers from the West to the global South, while much of that work can be done far better by local organizations that speak the language, understand the culture, and know exactly what's going on.
Now, when they come in with a bird's eye view and think they can solve all the problems that are here. And then when it comes to the local context, the Sierra Leoneans that are on the ground can understand the context better than anyone that comes in.
If there's anything I've learned from the situation surrounding Alhaji's grandmother, it's this. As an outsider, as a European, I'm simply not well equipped to truly understand what Alhaji needs, or how the relationships within the village really work.
And it seems like we're doing so much from the global north, but in actual sense, what comes down to the ground, to the basic clients that are there, are peanuts.
But what Samuel tells me makes me wonder. Isn't Liliane Fonds, the organization I'm making this podcast with, part of the problem? And I realize I have honestly no idea. And just as that thought takes hold, Samuel starts talking about it himself.
And this is a difference from the Liliane Fonds approach, a very vast difference. Now, Liliane Fonds do their fundraising, and then they support the organizations in the Global South directly. So what they do is support us by mobilizing resources to provide Southern solutions to Southern problems.
Shifting the power. I get it. No, that was perfect. Oh, thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
Earlier, I told you how the atmosphere in Samuel's car almost always lifts again, even after days filled with heavy conversations. But when that doesn't happen, Samuel automatically reaches for the radio. And to my surprise, he turns out to be a big country music fan.
Funny how it feels, I'm just getting to my best years yet.
Sing it.
Older I get, the friends I have. I use music as a way of rewinding, decompressing, it's a way of escape.
Yeah.
You don't need a lot when the ones that you've got have always got your back. The older I get, the better I am.
Next time in The Child in the Pond.
So I want to encourage all those living with disability out there to have the courage to stand on their toes.
So Sarah's case was very similar to Alhaji. The entire community has been saved and has been rehabilitated.
I see empathy as a truly interpersonal emotion.
I think the text is so powerful because it starts with something that isn't abstract, but this real-life catastrophe that is happening.
The Child in the Pond is a podcast made by me, Max Bogaert, in collaboration with Liliane Fonds. For more information on the work of the Liliane Fonds and pictures of this episode, visit lilianefonds.org/podcast.